Hi, members of my family are drawn to New York City. It's an old story going back to when my great-great-grandfather, Adolf Listner, moved to New York from Germany in 1854. He became a citizen in 1860. I have a microfilm copy of his naturalization certificate. A death notice in the New York Times of January 21st, 1914, said that he served with Troop E, 3rd Regiment, New York Cavalry in the Civil War. Other family members would follow. My father lived there from 1967 to 1978, then me from 1980 to 1991, and most recently my nephew Tyler from 2010 to, well, 2 weeks ago when he left New York to return to Houston. I've done the math. We all stayed for 11 years and then said, it's time to say goodbye. The classic attractions lured us to the city. Many of you know what that journey's all about. Family, work, romance, adventure, getting out of small-town America or repressive Europe. My father left Grand Rapids, Michigan with his second wife for a career as a self-employed industrial engineer in Bon Vivant. That lasted until he finally ran out of money and moved to Nyack, New York. He lived in the same apartment on the shores of the Hudson River for 40 years until he died in 2018. I got the big city bug from visiting my father and his wife in the 1970s with my brother. We arrived wide-eyed from Mission, Texas, a small town on the banks of the Rio Grande. After picking us up at LaGuardia Airport, Dad took us on the Circle Line tour around Manhattan. I was hooked on the place instantly and kept coming back. I moved to Brooklyn a week after I graduated from Princeton University in 1980 for a job at Forbes magazine. Career calling. Well, the quest for journalistic success quickly cratered. I slid from Princeton to Forbes to a trade magazine called Quick Frozen Foods to an unemployment line within 3 years. How's that for a career arc? I could have gone back home to Texas at any time after job losses or my mother's cancer diagnosis, but I hung on. My inner action junkie thrived on affordable apartments like a $300 a month studio on Amity Street in Cobble Hill, Brooklyn, the Jewish scene, the personal section of New York Magazine, and best of all, no obligations, not even a house plant. I did freelance writing, I searched for love, and I traveled to Europe, Australia, Israel, and the USSR, among other places. I finally found both a great reporting job and romance in the magical summer of 1987, and 2 years later I was married. Well, the crack crime wave and the desire for suburban family life sent us packing to Connecticut in 1991. My then wife and I delighted in driving our used Saab, remember Saabs, to the Caldor department store, remember Caldor, to shop. No longer were we lugging groceries and laundry up and down apartment stairs in a rolling cart. Well, nephew Tyler and some theater friends moved to the city after they graduated from college in Texas. After seeing Tyler star in a college production of Company, I knew he had the skills and presence to make it in the Big Apple. And you know what? He did, just not as an actor. After appearing in The Drowsy Chaperone in Brooklyn, he pivoted to self-taught graphics art, starting with adhesive stickers and hustling all the way to success as a queer artist with a website selling clothes, bags, and artwork like this pandemic face mask that's my favorite, to murals at Art Basel and Miami, exhibitions at the Brooklyn Brew House and Rag & Bone fashion chain, and a stint as an artist in residence at Barney's department store. You remember Barney's back when that existed. I documented almost all of this, the doting uncle with a camera coming in from the suburbs. But after 11 years, well, Tyler has decided to move on and move back to Houston. And you know what? That's his story to tell, not mine. I wish him all the best in taking his show back on the road. Living in Fairfield and Westchester counties, I never cut the cord so boldly. I never went back. Instead, I spent 20 years commuting to Grand Central, keeping one foot firmly planted in the city until the pandemic ended all that. As that connection shows, the appeal of bright lights, big city remains strong. What started with Adolf Lissner in 1854 never stops. The latest generation of Wallachs is now living on a ranch in Texas. They might very well be inspired by Uncle Tyler and Wacky Uncle Van to see what all the fuss is about. Why, just wait until they hear about my $300 a month studio on Amity Street and all the fun I had. They're preschoolers now, but they could very well be the starry-eyed Brooklyn hipsters of 2040. I hope to be around and welcome them back to the Big Apple, the next generation of Wallachs in the city. Thank you.